Should Magic the Gathering keep doing crossovers? It's an interesting question to ponder. Crossovers are nothing new. I remember seeing them as a youngin' when I was looking through comic books, and you kept seeing all these different heroes, and that's because they all lived in the same universe, so it just kind of made sense. It added to each hero's story, and it was easy to weave them together since they essentially live down the street from each other or just, another planet over. But then sometimes they're also linked just by the companies that own them. You had Sonic and Mega Man. Oh my gosh, I loved Mega Man as a kid. That was probably my favorite video game for Super Nintendo. I digress. And then we occasionally see them in our cartoons, ones that we watched as kids, the ones that we probably still watch today. And I guess we saw Magic's most recent crossover with Ikoria and the Godzilla cards, which fit the plane of Ikoria because it's all about big creatures, which is a rather mundane and lackluster standard to meet, but Godzilla definitely did. Sure. And then Mark Rosewater asked, what other crossovers do we want to see in Magic? And it got me thinking, well, what are the pros and cons to crossovers? Why would Magic do other ones? And when do crossovers work and not work so well? So that's what we're going to talk about. Let's get into it. So why pursue crossovers? What's the benefit to it? The reasons I most often see is that it, 1, is mutually beneficial to each party involved. 2, it creates a potentially new design space or unique experience for each franchise. 3, it engages a new audience that you may not have been able to engage before or to the level that you've wanted. And 4, it's just fun, or it brings in that nostalgia that we all just can't help but love and enjoy and want as much of it as we can get it, especially in our games and entertainment. But why not do it? Besides the obvious of it doesn't add to any of those benefits, is that it may just be distracting to your audience to see this new universe appear in yours for some unknown reason, or it could just diminish your product because the crossover isn't done in an intellectually consistent way, and or one that again just distracts or frustrates your user base. And I feel like there's got to be another reason I'm just not putting my finger on. Let me just, from the internet, it says a lot of folks seem to have a burning hatred for crossovers and resort to calling everyone who drives one an idiot. Wait, oh, they're talking about crossover vehicles. Yeah, that's not. Yeah. Okay, no, the other point is sometimes they're just too absurd to make work. You're trying to put the round peg in a square hole, so to speak, and your fans and audiences of both are just like, why? It doesn't, let's not, could we please cut it off? So when I'm looking at a crossover, those are the two things I'm looking at. The things that should be happening because of the crossover, and the things that should hopefully not be happening because the crossover was well planned out and well thought out by both parties. Now, before I get into my ideas of what I think would make a good crossover for the Magic universe and the ones I'm also not as keen on, let me ask you a couple questions. When you saw the Godzilla cards, spoiled for Ikoria, the new artworks, all that cool stuff, what was your reaction to them? And now that you've hopefully have some time to see them and play with them on Arena, what has your experience been with them and getting to play with them in some fashion? Just like to know your initial thoughts so far with the crossover to Godzilla for Ikoria. Now, while you chew on that, here are some of my ideas about crossovers I'd like to see. And this may not actually qualify or be defined as a crossover, but the crossovers that get me the most excited when I look at Magic is just crossing over with our actual history, like the history of mankind, a more specific match to historical periods and geographic areas around the world. Not just allude to them or hint at them. Don't get me wrong, I love looking for and finding those little allusions and hints within the game, but if the reason we're most likely doing crossovers is because they engage an audience in a different way or they add to the game in some unique way, why not just go to a different space and showcase something awesome and unique about that area of the world or that culture, because there's a ton that we can still explore in that space, more so than just going to a different game and pulling another big monster. Legendary people can become legendary creatures, same with artifacts and lands and just mythical animals. Whatever we need for a design space or creative outlet, our history from around the world can meet that need, no doubt about it. And I mean, it'd be awesome, we could get some like sweet land arts from, I don't know, national parks, the wonders of the world. Again, there's so much potential out there that I feel like we haven't even begun to tap into, that crossovers into other gaming franchises. It's a harder sell for me to understand why we should cross over to another gaming franchise instead of just sticking with the world around us. Maybe that's me getting a bit too hopeful about the impacts on the youngest generation, because Magic's already so amazing at teaching kids reading and math and logic, why not throw some more history into it? And I'm not saying make it into a history game, but if we're going to start doing some awesome crossover artworks and exploring of different histories, again, world history I think is far more exciting than any other game's backstory. So with that, the crossovers I do want to see next time we go to Theros, let's see some actual Greek or Roman gods. You know, you can knock yourselves out and do a Greek god for the collector booster packs and the Roman gods for your secret layer and a different version for your super secret packs you can only open past 11 p.m., which I'm sure will be announced next year. When we go back to Zendikar, it's a huge world, right? Big, vast expanses of land. We could do explorers and trailblazers, wilderness heroes, and folklore legends from around the world. You could have a seafarer of some sort be your blue card, a mountain man as your red card. When we go back to Amonkhet here, we could go and check out the pharaohs. Why not have some awesome pharaoh cards? For my personal nostalgia, can we please, when we go back to Ixalan, just do a Turok crossover? The game taught me so much about dinosaurs, I'm still kind of afraid of them. We can go back to India, because that gives us a reason to bring Kavu back. Let's go back to Kaladesh. I feel like Innistrad has a ton of potential too. Got spooky vampires and gargoyles. Castlevania. It's a fun game. I mean, really, like, video game crossovers, I get it. I'm more just indifferent about them. It's not that I don't like them. They just don't do anything special for me. But there are some crossovers I definitely don't want to do. And just to kind of knock these ones out, in case you're wondering, hey, would you like this kind of crossover? No. And that's Final Fantasy VII. The remake has everyone excited about the game. That was the first real game of my childhood that I was just immersed in, 100% consumed by that game. Please don't try and bring it into Magic. They're just it's too separate of a world to make it make sense in Magic. Let's not do that. Lord of the Rings, just no. I mean, come on, it's a whole different universe. There's no reason to bring them together. And Diablo games, like Diablo 2, oh my god, there's another game that consumed way too many hours that I would be embarrassed to know how much it really was. Would it make sense? Actually, that probably would. It would, but I don't think we need to just throw every D&D-esque RPG type game into Magic. Wizards owns D&D, so if you need a D&D type product, run with the original, the best one. Just go for it. I'd encourage that. But to just try and jam in every other franchise with similar characteristics, we should raise the bar on why something's coming into Magic, why Magic's doing a crossover with something else, because it is the best game out there. And again, I think I'm just fixated on exploring our world and our history because it feels like a more valuable use of my time, and it's just more interesting. It's just cooler to know, oh, this was based on something that really happened or like is really a part of this culture. That's pretty awesome to see or learn. Yeah, the Godzilla cards, like, they were okay. They didn't get me excited. And that could very well be because I have no connection or nostalgia attached to Godzilla. I recognize it from when I was a kid. And that could also be because we have the new companion mechanic, which completely has dominated the conversation because of how controversial it is. But when I look back at crossovers from my childhood, they seemed rather at the ends of the extremes. They were either fleeting and really casual. They happened for an episode or something that was just really fun to see and cool, but didn't add to the longevity of either franchise. Or they were so ingrained in each other that it felt like they were almost the same franchise because of how often you saw or heard of that crossover. That then gets me thinking, because Magic is the best game out there, if we need to reach new people or ideas, do we need another game to bring that to us? Probably not. If we do, D&D is probably the place to start. If that's not going to hit whatever mark we need, can our world history fill that gap? So my final thought for these crossovers is, if we look at the game of Magic, is it going to really add to the Magic story, the universe, the game we're playing, or is it going to be distracting? Is it going to pull us into the game deeper or pull us out of it and into another game and those memories? I don't know the answer to that. I'm just here chewing on the idea of, if we keep seeing more crossovers, what would I like to see and not like to see? Love to hear your thoughts about it though. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons, to Card Kingdom. We'll see you in the next video. Take it easy. Peace.